I welcome all learners to this video session. So in this video session, I would like to focus the various notations to represent algorithm. So as far as the notations of the programming languages and algorithms are concerned, the two types, one is called pseudocode representation and other one is called flowchart based representation. And followed by, we would like to discuss what are the various programming languages. So in this slide, we focus all the three: pseudocode, flowchart and programming languages. The first, we will focus what is pseudocode. As you know, the pseudocode is one of the methods to describe algorithm. The idea is that, so before developing a code, first we wanted to develop algorithm, which we discussed in our previous videos. After developing algorithms, for better understanding by the programmer, by the developer, we can develop a pseudocode. So based on the pseudocode, we can write the high level language programs. So that code we can design. That is the main purpose. And the pseudocode is defined as high level description, because for understanding purpose, high level description like English statement, but only thing is it is informal pattern. Okay, that's a very important one. And one more idea is that as far as pseudocode is concerned, no standard guidelines and no rules. So as no standard guidelines and no rules, the developer himself, herself can develop a model pseudocode to understand the algorithms, and this pseudocode will help to develop programming languages. So that is the main purpose of pseudocode. So for better understanding and for developing a code comfortably. And what are the benefits? It is very simple, because so only like English statements we can use, and not only that, it is language independent. That is the reason why for a algorithm we are developing a pseudocode, and based on the pseudocode, okay, we can develop a code in any programming languages. For example, I am developing a pseudocode, and from that pseudocode I can write a program with C or with C++ or with Java. Which programming languages I wanted, I can consider for developing code. So that's the reason why the pseudocode is language independent. And not only that, some keywords is there for representing pseudocode. For example, if I wanted to read some data, we can use input is one of the keywords, or get one of the keywords, or read or obtained like this. In general, the keywords of pseudocode will be represented in caps, all capital letters. Okay. So for output representation, so we can use print, display, show or output like this. For calculation purposes, we can use a keywords like a compute, calculate, determine and like this. For initialization purpose, initialize or set. For example, if I wanted to incrementing variables, say I equal to 1, next iteration I should be 2, third iteration I should be 3, like this, increment by 1, we can use this what is called the keyword increment. And not only that, what type of the programming, what is called the control statements we can use, that also we can represent with no statement and all, no syntax and all, okay, that possible keywords and all, if, then, else, end if, while, for and like this we can use a keywords. So these are the some ideas about pseudocode, and the main purpose is that from the algorithms to develop a code, that is called programming languages code, the pseudocode is helping. One example also I have given. Let us consider this example here. The pseudocode is used to find the addition of three numbers. So how to write the pseudocode based on algorithm? Okay, read A, B, C. Okay, and after that compute okay, the sum by adding A, B, C. You can write like this, or compute, okay, S equal to, or compute sum equal to A plus B plus C. Like that also we can add, because no standard rule, no standard guidelines. Only thing is, after reading a pseudocode, the developer comfortably wanted to develop a code without any confusion. For this purpose, we are using pseudocode. And finally, okay, we can display under. So this is the idea about pseudocode. And next, we would like to focus flowchart. So next to pseudocode, okay, the representation of the algorithm is flowchart. This is for better understanding from pseudocode. Okay, so flowchart or the flow diagram is a graphical representation of an algorithm. So we know very well, okay, the graphical representation will demonstrate, will explain the situations, the ideas very clearly. So as far as we people, programmers and all concerned, if we are seeing graphical representation, we can understand in better manner. So for better understanding purpose, we are using a flowchart. The flowchart we can draw based on pseudocode. The pseudocode we can develop based on algorithm. So first level is algorithm, second one is pseudocode, and the third one is a flowchart. Then after that, directly we can develop a code. So for this purpose, we are using flowchart. The flowchart is a graphical representation, is the very important one. Reason because the flowchart gives us better understanding about algorithm. Okay, so what are the aims of the flowchart, or need of flowcharts, and benefits of the flowcharts? Like this, we can expect in this university examination. So flowcharts, okay, already I told you for better understanding purpose. So this is the first point. And the second one is that, so after seeing a flowchart, we can understand and analyze the algorithm. For example, analyzing algorithm means what about the complexity, how it is execution is happening, during executions if any flaw may occur or not, any error is available or not, any error may occur or not. Like this, we can analyze the algorithm for better understanding purpose and better analysis purpose. We can use flowchart. And not only that, okay, so this flowchart is helping developers to develop the code very comfortably, very efficiently, so that without any confusion, we can develop a code after seeing flowchart. And not only that, if any errors occur and all, we can easily identify. So proper error, okay, we can identify and we can rectify. That is called proper debugging. And not only that, this programs, okay, this flowchart will help us to maintain our what is called algorithm as well as a code. So for this purpose, documentation purpose also, we can use flowchart. So as far as the developers are concerned, focusing a flowchart, because for better understanding of the problem, and based on the understanding, comfortably, conveniently can develop a code. So this is the main prime objective of flowchart. However, the flowchart has few limitations. So what are the limitations? Number one is called time consuming process, because flowchart is everything is a graphical representation. So the different symbols, okay, wanted to draw for various process and all, we will discuss later on. So drawing representation, graphical representation is the time consuming process. We know very well. And not only that, if algorithm is a complicated and lengthy one, then we cannot develop a flowchart, or developing flowchart is the time consuming process or the tedious process. So that is the main drawback of the flowchart. And not only that, so for the algorithm, for the pseudocode, imagine that I have developed a fantastic flowchart. Then after that, if I were advised by authority or my expertise to modify the algorithm, then we wanted to modify the flowchart also. So that time, the modification of flowchart or altering a flowchart is really difficult to process. Reason because everything is drawn based on graph model. That means graphical representation is made, so that alteration is a time consuming process, tedious process, and it is difficult also. If wanted to reproduce the same flowchart again, that also complicated. So that's the reason why, for understanding purpose, understanding of the algorithms, problems, flowchart gives us, helps us for better understanding. But the limitations are like this. So like this we can demonstrate, and theoretically we understood then what are the graphical representations, models, pictures and all there we will see now. Okay, so these are the symbols to represent the different processes. That's a very important one. For example, if you wanted to start the process or if you wanted to stop the process, we can use this symbol, or you can use oval also. So this is the symbol to demonstrate, to understand, start the process or stop the process. And next one is process. Process means calculation. For example, A equal to B plus C. Okay, C equal to D minus 10. So like this, any mathematical calculations, that type of process if you wanted to do, then we can use this rectangle. So the rectangle is the symbolic representation for any processings, for any manipulations, operations, actions and like this. And the next symbol is parallelogram. Okay, the parallelogram is used to read the data. That means get the data from user or after calculation to display the data also. So for this purpose, okay, we can use the parallelogram. And sometimes, okay, during when developing a flow chart, we wanted to take a decision. For example, if A equal to B, do this one. If A is greater than B, okay, do this one. A is less than B. Like this, some comparison statements we wanted to develop. For this purpose, for decision making purpose, we are using this symbol, this a diamond symbol. Okay. And the next one is, for example, I am developing a flow chart. Okay, it's extend to that is a 3 pages. First page over. Then after that, I wanted to continue to second page, and we wanted to indicate that, okay, the previous page is a continuous process of the second page. So at that time, we wanted to use the connector. So for this purpose, okay, this symbol we are using. Then after that, okay, if we wanted to sort the data before processing, for sorting a data purpose, we can use this symbol. And sometimes if the database is very complicated, largest one, then straight away user cannot enter the data during the execution, so that the program itself wanted to read the data from file for execution. So for file handling purposes, we can use this symbol. So this symbol for reading a data from a file or writing a content to the file, for this purpose we can use. Then finally, okay, that is a flow lines. It indicates that direction of control flow. For example, first task this one, after that which is the next task. So we can use arrow. So this type of arrows, okay, direction of arrows indicates that the direction of flow. Okay, so like this, these are the symbols. So we can use these symbols to construct a flow chart. So we would like to discuss some suitable examples so that we can understand in better manner. So for example, see here, this is the flow chart. The flow chart is designed for find sum of two numbers. So if you wanted to find the sum of two numbers, obviously we wanted to read A and B. So before read the data, we wanted to start. For starting purpose, we wanted to use oval or this symbol. So start purpose, this symbol I have used. Then after that next, okay, so wanted to read the value for A and B. So that is we are getting an input, okay, for this purpose we are using parallelogram. Then after that I wanted to calculate the sum. So this is the process, addition, manipulation. For this purpose we are using rectangle. Similarly, okay, that is sum is calculated. Then after that I wanted to print. For the print purpose, we needed to use parallelogram. So either the input or the output we wanted to use parallelogram. Then okay, so that is we got the value for A and B and sum is calculated, sum is printed and the task is over, so that we are terminating our process, that is a program. So that's the reason why the task is stopped. So for this purpose we are using a oval or the start symbol as well as stop symbol. So this is a small representation. So from the flow chart we can easily understand that what should be the first step, what should be the second step, what should be the third step, what should be the fourth step, and like this we can understand very clearly. So better understanding of the problem is comfortable here, so that without confusion, without any unambiguous status, so we can develop a code. For this purpose we are using a flowchart. This is one of the examples. Like this I have given that is different examples also. See here, this is the flowchart for find the biggest number among two numbers. Like this we can expect in this A part questions. So the first wanted to identify the biggest number. For this purpose we wanted to start. Then after that we wanted to get the value for A and B. Then after that I am comparing here. So the comparison means for taking a decision. For taking a decision we wanted to use the diamond symbol. Already I told you. That's the reason why I used the diamond symbol. Okay. So here the test is happening. Okay. During a test, if the condition is true, okay, proceed this direction. So that's the reason why I give arrow like this. If the condition becomes a false, proceed this direction or like this. A is greater than B, it is true. Obviously A is bigger. Okay. If A is greater than B is a false, then okay, print B is the bigger. So the condition becomes a false means A is not a bigger. So obviously B is the bigger. So like this, okay, with this suitable what is called a flow chart, okay, we can understand the problem. Based on that, we can develop a code. And one more example also I would like to give you. Okay, so this example is the program to find the sum of natural numbers. So this is a very important one. Okay, frequently in the university examination they are asking what is called flow chart for this type of problems. Okay, so here is sum of n natural numbers. That means sum of some n numbers. Okay, so algorithm is there, not focusing algorithm. We already discussed. Now we come down to flow chart. Okay, so n natural numbers we wanted to add and needed to calculate the sum. So start. Then initially I wanted to find the sum, so that okay, sum is assigned to 0, initialization happening. Then after that I equal to 0. So reason because I wanted to count n numbers. For the counting purpose I am using this one. Okay, I am using okay read, okay, that is a value for n. So that n means if you are giving a 10, so 10 numbers, okay, you will enter. All the 10 numbers the program will get and will find the sum. That's the reason why, okay, enter the value for n. Then after that, okay, I equal to n. Initially I equal to 0. Here 0 equal to, for example, n value, let us consider 10. 0 equal to 10. The condition is false. Okay, false means, see here is come down here and sum equal to sum plus I. That means I equal to 0 and okay, that is some value is added and result is stored here. Then after that I equal to I plus 1. Now I becomes 1. Okay, again it is repeating. Okay, it is iteration. Again repeating. Okay, now 1 equal to 10. Okay, is testing? No. So second number is added, third number added, fourth number added, and like this 10th number also added. After that, okay, so coming down here, now I equal to 10. If 10 equal to 10, the condition is true, then the control will come down here. That means this loop won't be executed. Okay, it's come down here and it's a print the sum and it is stopped. Okay, so this is a small procedure. It's a flow chart. Okay, after understanding the flow chart, programmer comfortably can develop a code. So like this, okay, tens of applications we can give for the flow chart. So I think this is sufficient to understand, okay, the flow chart. So once again I would like to repeat. First we will develop an algorithm for the problem. Based on the algorithm, we will develop a pseudocode. Based on the pseudocode, we can develop a flowchart. Then we can develop a code. Sometimes, okay, algorithm straight away we can go to flowchart before developing a code. Some programmer may prefer pseudocode instead of flowchart. The developer can decide whether okay pseudocode is wanted or flowchart is wanted to better understanding of algorithm before developing a code. He can decide, or sometimes then sequence algorithm, pseudocode and flowchart. The developer can decide which models required to better understanding the problem. Okay. So till this, okay, we discussed what is called a pseudocode as well as a flowchart. Now we are focusing about programming languages. So what is the purpose of programming languages? For example, we use English language for better communication, use Tamil for better communication, and like this we use our own language for expressing our ideas so that other people will understand what we are speaking or what we wanted or what we are requesting. So like this, the language is mandatory. As far as a computer is concerned, to advise the computer, to instruct the computer, okay, to assign the task to computer, we needed a language that is called programming language. So programming language is used to communicate the instruction to a computer or to a machine to perform a task. The programming languages can be called as artificial language because we ourselves generated, okay, created the language, so that we are calling as artificial language. Okay, so the main purpose of the programming language is used to control the behavior of the machine, also control the behavior of the computer also. For example, the robotics is moving, I can instruct to stop, I can instruct to start. So for this purpose also we wanted to use programming languages. Okay. So as far as a programming language is concerned, okay, three major categories, that is called machine language, assembly language and high level language. But strictly speaking, the programming language is classified as two models. One is called low level programming language and other one is called high level programming language. Under low level programming language, we have another two what is called divisions, two types. One is called machine level language and other one is called assembly level language. So machine level language and assembly level language is coming under low level programming language. And the other one is high level programming languages or high level language. Okay, under this, okay, another two types. One is called procedural language and other one is called object oriented programming model. Okay, OOPS model or OOP model. Okay, so like this, the programming languages we can be classified. That symbolic representation also there. So hardware is there. Okay, that is a computer hardware. Then next higher level is machine level language. So machine level language only can understand by the hardware. After that, he can develop in any type of languages. All these languages should be converted into machine level language so that computer will understand. So we will discuss everything, okay, now. Okay, now, okay, we identified major two classification, low level and high level. Okay, under low level two models, okay, machine language, assembly language and high level procedural language and object oriented programming language. Okay. First, we will focus what is a low level and under low level what is a machine level language. Machine language. So machine language indicates that here machine refers the computer. So it is a computer language. So machine language is a native language of computer. And not only that, the machine language is used to directly execute by CPU. Okay, so that no other systems are required. And the machine language is nothing but, you know, the computer knows only zeros and ones. That's the reason why series of bits, that is zeros and ones, it's a binary form. Okay, this is also called as low level language. But only the problem is the computer knows only zeros and ones. If you wanted to write a code with zeros and ones, it is really a tedious task. And not only that, okay, if error raised and we cannot predict, we cannot debug that error also. That is the reason why machine level language is a tedious process and error prone one. That's the reason why programmers not focusing machine level language. But however, okay, that the machine, this language is understood by computer. So if you wanted to instruct a computer to do some task, then we needed machine level language. So we will discuss how to solve this problem. And not only that, the machine level language is not portable. Not portable means, okay, for a particular processor, if I am developing a one machine level instruction, and that instruction understand by the particular machine alone. For the another machine, another type of what is called machine format. That's the reason why it's not portable and it is not comfortable to programmer. But however, computer knows only in machine level language, so that okay, if you're writing in any other language, that should be converted into language, machine language. We will discuss later. Okay. So next low level language is called as assembly level language. As compared with machine level language, it is little bit comfortable and okay, less error prone. We are not talking about assembly level is the best language, but compared with the machine level language, assembly level language is comfortable. That is, the coding is easier than machine level language. What is the meaning of assembly level language? Assembly level language means instead of using zeros and ones, okay, we can replace zeros and ones and we can use some methodology. The methodology is called mnemonics. So what is a mnemonics? So for example, so this is called one mnemonics. So this is what is called one mnemonics, okay, one instruction. So what this instruction is expressing means the data you moved to accumulator. That means, for example, assume that data equal to 10, okay, after executing this instruction, A equal to 10. So if I wanted to assign a one value to the accumulator register, we can use, okay, this symbol. Similarly, okay, this data is assigned to B. This data is assigned to C. This data is assigned to D. Like this, okay, tons of mnemonics and are there. For understanding purpose, I am giving like this. Okay, so this is the mnemonic representation. But however, this also computer cannot understand. For understanding purpose, for this mnemonics, there is some standard what is called numerical value. If you are typing that numerical value, the computer will convert that numerical value into binary and then it will understand what is the meaning of this. Okay. So for example, so for move immediate A comma data, the meaning is 3E. If you are giving a 3E, okay, the computer will understand that, okay, the data value is assigned to A is a meaning. That means 3E we can enter, okay, instead of zeros and ones, okay, but 3E wanted to convert into zeros and ones so that the computer machine will understand. Like this we can explain a lot. Now you understand that what is assembly level language, how it is better than machine level language, and what's the meaning of mnemonics, and mnemonics some examples. Okay, you understand like this. Okay, so low level languages, machine level language and assembly level language. And the next one is the high level language. So from the name itself, we understood that the level is comfortable. So all our programmers, we people using high level language alone. Okay, so high level language means like English language, it's very comfortable to write. See this example, you can understand. For example, this is a suitable example for high level language. So what I am giving instruction to our computer, if value is less than 10, you print, that is a great deal. So I wanted to execute, okay, this statement if the condition becomes true. So it is very comfortable to our programmer to write the code is comfortable to programmer, so that this type of representation is called high level language. Okay, but however, the high level language should be converted into machine level language. So we will discuss how to resolve this problem. We have a translator, we will discuss later. So now you understood what is high level language. So high level language further can be classified as a two level, procedural level and object oriented programming level. So procedure level is nothing but step by step instruction. For example, 10 instructions are there. First instruction needed to execute first. Second instruction needed to execute second. Then third. Then fourth. Then fifth, like this. Whereas in this object oriented program, no need to execute sequentially. For example, second instruction can be executed later on, or third instruction can execute first. So OOPS concept, when discussing about OOPS language, you can understand the strength of object oriented programming. As of now, you understand that procedural language is a sequence order, object oriented programming is object based, not a sequence. Okay, so some more advantages and all there. If it is a procedural language, okay, so no data secure. If you are using object oriented programming, we have that is data encapsulation concept, that is called providing security to our data, so that the data handling is a secured, we will get a security to our data. And if you are using a procedure language, okay, we cannot reuse our code. The reusing code is difficult. Whereas in the object oriented programming, reusing code is very comfortable. Okay, easy. Like this, the two difference you can understand that. For understanding purpose, what are the high level languages that C, C++, C Sharp, Java, Python, and like this it's going on. Okay, so as far as high level language is concerned, it is a portable. Portable means what? So I am developing a code for a particular computer. The same code I can execute on the different computer. So it is comfortable, portable. So it is what is called system independent. Okay, so till now you understood, okay, what is machine level language, what is assembly level language, and what is high level language. But the problem is that as far as users and are concerned, it is comfortable to write only in high level language, so that the high level language wanted to convert into the machine level language. For this purpose, so we have a model, a tool called translators. So translators are used to convert, translate high level language into machine level language. So we will discuss what are the translators available and how those translators is working. Okay, so as I told you earlier, to convert high level language into machine level language, so we have translators, two types of translators. One is called compiler and other one is called interpreter. So now we will discuss what is a compiler. So compiler translates entire program of a high level language into machine level language. For example, let us consider a program. Okay, the program consists of 50 lines. Entire 50 lines will be converted into machine level language. Okay, at the same time, entire program will be converted. And not only that, after conversion, okay, the file will be become exe file, that is called executable file. So exe file can be executed in any other systems. Okay, and not only that, the convert instruction from human understandable form to machine understandable form is possible by compiler. The meaning is that, so high level language is converted into machine level language, so that high level language we can understand and machine level language exe form system can understand. Okay, so the best model is a compiler. Entire program will converted into exe, so that it is the fastest one. It's a faster model. Okay, so we are having a high level language, high level program that should be compiled first, so that it will convert it to exe, then we can run. Okay, this is the one side. And the next model is interpreter. Okay, interpreter also converting, okay, the program into machine level, but the small difference is that it translates each line of the program instructions, each line of the program to, okay, machine level. Before machine level, one intermediate code. Okay, so it is a platform independent model like this. Okay, it's not directly converted to exe, but intermediate code. Then the intermediate code can be executed by the system. Clear? That is also binary code. Okay, so interpreter, instead of converting entire program, okay, it will convert line by line and each line will be converted into intermediate code. As line by line conversion is happening, it's obviously slower model. Okay, few languages only using interpreter. Okay, the Python is the interpreter. So like this, okay, the translators, compiler is there, interpreter is there. So learners can understand the difference between compiler and interpreter. When talking about the Python program during a demonstration, I will give you better inputs for better understanding of interpreter. As far as Python is concerned, is the interpreter. Okay, C, C++ and all concerned, it is a compiler based. Okay, so like this, the types of translators and all there. Okay, so in this topic, we discussed pseudocode, we discussed flowchart, and we discussed programming languages. So my dear learners, watch the videos and understand the concept thoroughly and perform better in a way to score highest mark in your university examinations. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you.